All right, next. This was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I feel like I've talked about this book kind of a few different times in videos. All right, hello, my fellow readers. Today we're going to be doing my April wrap up. Get yourself some food, get yourself a coffee, get yourself a water, get yourself a nice place to sit because we are going to be here for a while. I read a total of 36 books. The genre breakdown is I had 12 literary fictions that I read, I had 12 romances that I read, 2 historical fiction, 5 horror, and 5 fantasy. So that's the breakdown. It is currently the 28th as I'm filming this, so I may or may not get another book read, but if I do, I'm going to pop it up right there. All right, let's start out by going over the library books I read because they're the closest to me. I do also need to go return those, but here we are. So the one I recently finished is Convenience Store Woman by Shaka Murata. I have no idea how to say that, so please forgive me on that pronunciation. I've also read Vanishing World by this author. I definitely prefer that over this one. I gave this 2.5 stars. This to me was very quick. It was a very quick read, but also, I was kind of bored. I feel like she always writes this thing with the male characters she has that always boggles my mind sometimes. But also the female characters almost always feel like they're autistic. If we're gonna be honest. I think it made me definitely think about what it means to be a convenience store worker, but I was in this very unique, weird way. But I don't think it's necessarily bad if you're looking for weird girl literature, but also a conversation about what it means to be productive in society, because there's definitely a moment of that of kind of worthiness of not being old and being in a job that is for younger people and kind of what that means for you, but also just this conversation about income and what it means to have a job that is lower paying. So I would just say that I think Vanishing World was better for me, I think overall, but that's again a personal thing. It definitely made me think, that's for sure. All right, next. Woo. You're gonna see this in a video soon of me ranting about this book. It is The Adjunct by Maria Edelman. Okay, let me take a breath here. This book, if you want to know what it is like to be a grad student dealing with professors and being an adjunct professor, read this. This book centered around Sam, who is an adjunct professor. She has a PhD, but she's adjuncting, which basically just means she's not a tenured professor. So she's not really getting paid a lot. They don't have a lot of resources. They typically don't have healthcare. They don't have any type of coverage, any type of leave, anything like that. So it's just not a very nice job, and you are still dealing with being a professor, just like you would if you were a tenured professor. So this handles that conversation, but it also handles the conversation in and around graduate advisors and professors taking kind of advantage of their grad students. I don't want to give too much away, but Sam is a PhD grad. I believe it's in English, yes. And she had a professor that basically disappeared after his time was up at the university that Sam was at. And we find out kind of throughout it that something obviously happened between the two of them. Lo and behold, he shows up at the school that she's adjunct professing for. But he also has written a book about a grad student falling in love with him, or being obsessed with him, really. As someone who was in grad school and who has graduate degrees, who also has been around a lot of professors and grad students and seen different dynamics, what I'll say is grad students and professors dating or sleeping together is unfortunately a thing. It's gross, but it is a thing. And so this touches on that conversation, but I do think if you do not understand that world, this gives you a really clear insight to what that is like. But also, like, it just made me so. It just, I felt like this book understood me, and not in the professor situation, but in the, like, world of teaching and not getting paid well and all of that. Like, I think it did a very good job at that. So I highly recommend. I did rate this at 3.75 though. So just bear that in mind. I think the writing wasn't as strong, but the book definitely made me rant. So there you go. All right, we have a bunch of Emily Henry books coming up. So bear with me. It's for a video, so just know that that is coming. But the first one is Great Big Beautiful Life. I gave this a 4.75. This was by far my favorite. So this is about two journalists, essentially competing for a memoir, like rights to write a memoir about this person. There is like some family dynamics in here. It is beautiful. It made me cry. To be honest with you, I don't have anything really negative to say. I obviously rated it pretty high. I thought the story was really well done. I thought the ending was really strong. It's an Emily Henry book. I don't particularly love straight romance, so for me, this was kind of harder to get into, but once I got into it, I loved it. I definitely, if you love Daisy Jones and the Six, I would highly recommend this if you have not read it already. I think it has the same feel of like the interviews and things, and I just highly encourage it. I highly encourage it. But that's all I'm going to say, just to keep this. Look, I'm trying to get through some of these quickly because otherwise we are going to be here for a while, okay? All right, next we have Funny Story. I rated this 4 stars. This wasn't bad by any means. I thought this was funny, like the name states. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a cute little rom-com. It was a librarian and a bartender, so it was cute. I really liked the fact that like she was so put together and then he was like so the opposite, and I love that dynamic anytime we get it. But yeah, because I feel like often we get that when the man is like very put together and the girl is just like flighty, and I feel like this is kind of the opposite. The only thing is I wish we got a little bit more of Wynn's family story. This is Wynn, right? Sorry, they all kind of like oh, this is Miles. Sorry. Guys, all of these books kind of like meld together because I read them for a video, but I wish we got more of Miles. I wish we got more of Miles' family dynamics. I feel like that was missing for me, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. All right, next we have Happy Place. I rated this a 3.25 star. So obviously this is the lowest rated of the bunch. This was Wynn, and I needed more from Wynn. I needed more family, like, explanation from Wynn. I feel like I did not get enough. I feel like I needed more. I wasn't a fan. I don't think it was bad. I just honestly wish it could have been better. I wish it could have been better. I just am finding that I don't love single POV romance novels. So that might be the thing, but also this story just didn't do it for me. Like, I understood the concept and it kind of felt like it was a summer read, and it kind of felt like Summer I Turned Pretty. Like they always went to this house and that ending and all that kind of stuff, but no. I also was like kind of, I guess I didn't really understand the plot. Like, I understood the plot in that, like, they broke up, but they were hiding it from all their friends, and then they're kind of thrown together and in the happy place, right? In the place that they find that they're the happiest. But past that, I was not at all a fan. I actually was bored. The constant back and forth between Wynn and is this Harriet? Yes. Wynn and Harriet, the constant pull, like push and pull, it was just getting annoying. Like, it happened one too many times for me, and then I just was like checked out. And I just wanted the book to end, and that's never a good sign. All right, next we have Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas. I rated this a 3.25. This is like a gory horror film. I would say it's not. I think only the ending gets a little bit gory. I don't think prior to that, it's very gory. Wow, what a conversation about weight loss and about weight loss drugs. Wow, what a conversation about that. So we follow Emmett, who is overweight, and he gets on this like clinical trial for a medication that's going to help him lose weight. And he starts to lose weight, but it also comes with some side effects where he eats people. So there's that. So that's where you're starting off. This, again, very much a conversation about weight loss medication and what someone will do and what lengths someone will go to lose weight. However, I don't think it's not for me, but I'm also not someone who loves gore or horror in general, but just take caution if you're reading this. Okay, and last but not least in the library section of things, we still have quite a pile, guys. It is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I loved this. I wanted this injected into my veins. Like, I was so with this. I read this in a night. Like, this is a huge book and I read this in a night. By the way, I did rate it a 4.25. I think there were just some parts that I just was like not a huge fan of. However, that ending really sticks with you, man. That ending is like, wow, you have to really question everything. But in general, if you want a good like murder mystery, we follow Jet, who basically is trying to solve her own murder. Like, she has 7 days to live after someone tried to kill her, and she's solving her own murder. So there you go. I highly suggest it if you like a kind of murder mystery trying to solve a murder. Highly for it. However, just be warned. The ending packs a punch. So be warned. Be warned. I just had books just fall on the ground. So that's where we're going. Okay. Next. First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Okay. Like I said with Emily Henry, I do not do straight romance. And I could kind of overlook a lot of Emily Henry's books, especially Great Big Beautiful Life, because that also centered around like an interview and another person's story. However, this one did not. And I gave it a 3.5 stars, which, to be honest, I felt like was actually pretty good. If I'm going to be real. Aiden annoyed me. Not going to lie. Aiden really annoyed me at times. I didn't hate it. I read it very quickly. I'm still unsure if I'm going to get to the next book, which is And Back to You, and Now Back to You. I'm not sure if I'm going to read that. This cover is gorgeous. But in terms of just like, in terms of the romance, it was just not, I don't think it was not for me. I just think I'm not in a space of my life where I want to be reading straight romance. And I will definitely say, I've had times where I wanted to. So I think if I ever want to and I'm called to do that, I will probably pick up And Now Back to You. Because I thought it was really well written. I thought the banter was really good. I had really no complaints about that. However, I'm just not in a space where straight romance is really something I'm like, unless it's like a lit fic or something like that. Like if it's just a straight up romance and it's a straight romance, probably not going to be reading that. Not to say never. Maybe I'll get into a stage where I want to read that again, but I don't have a desire to right now. And I, as a queer person, feel like that's just how it's going to be, guys. As a bisexual person, I feel like just due to like my sexuality kind of like being very fluid and changing, if I was really into cis men, I probably would want to read straight romances more, which I have found, but that's just not where I'm at right now. So give me a little bit and maybe my mind will change. But for now, this was good. If you want a straight romance and you like it, there is a little bit of gayness in here. So I still got a little bit of my fix, and the banter was good. I just don't think personally it's going to be a right now thing. In the future, potentially. All right, next. This was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I feel like I've talked about this book kind of a few different times in videos. It's Yesteryear. Y'all already know how I rated this. This was my second 5-star read of the year. Yep, that's all I'm gonna say. This is about Natalie, who is a trad wife influencer who wakes up in the 1800s, basically in the life that she was trying to promote. And to me, this was very much a conversation of religion, of Christianity, of evangelical Christianity, of what it means to be an influencer, what it means to be a child of an influencer. And I really thought that conversation was great. I liked the ending. I know some people didn't like the ending. I thought, honestly, perfection. It was like the little like cherry on top. But I think the other thing this kind of spurred in me in terms of the conversation was this really was a conversation about the lengths someone will go to follow the Bible and have Bible teachings in every part of their lives. And also how easy it is for someone to become indoctrinated and influenced in this very right wing evangelical culture. And I don't say that as to make fun of that. I just say that as purely what it is. Like, that's what this book is. And I think for that, I am forever grateful for it. And I did look at it in a very, like, satirical way. And honestly, like, at times, like, as much as I thought Natalie was an unreliable narrator and I hated her at times, I also felt for her because I was like, wow, like, you grew up in this evangelical culture and then you're like, you just see it, how it then just influenced the rest of her life. And to me, such a conversation about that. Kind of reminds me of The Great Divide by Noah Kahn. There's a line in there and it says like, oh my gosh, what is the line? It's such a conversation about like religion. Now I have to look this up. Okay. This is the line. It's in the chorus. I hope you're scared of all the ordinary blank, like murderers and ghosts and cancer on your skin, and not the soul and what he might do with it. Like, I, nobody has talked about that in that song, but honestly, that's what I hope for Natalie. That's what I hope for Natalie, okay? Like, I really hope that that's one day where she gets to, but yes. All right, next is The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark. This is I gave it 3 stars. Whew. This book follows 4, I believe, or no, 6 novelists that all go to an island of a famous author named Arthur Fletch, and they find out that he is dead and they have to write the last chapter of his book. So this is marketed as a thriller slash horror. This is neither, actually. Like, this, to be honest, read like a contemporary fiction with death. And I'm not going to share too much because there is a full video going over this book, like a whole video of a whole bunch of horror books. But I was bored. I felt like a murder happening 50 pages left was insane. I didn't feel scared. I didn't care about the twist at the end. I cared about none of it, actually, because I stopped caring probably about 100 pages in. Okay, next is The Royal Spin by Omid Scooby and Robin Benway. I gave this 2.5 stars. I am not even going to lie here. I did not like this book. It honestly should be rated lower. We follow Lauren as she starts to work for the royal family. We have a estranged kind of royal who comes back because he needs money. We have a journalist, and there's essentially a love triangle. However, this was not a love triangle. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not know. I didn't care about either of the men because I didn't know either of the men. So by the time she made her decision, I had no opinion. I had literally zero opinion. I didn't care. I was checked out at that point. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly felt like she complained the entire book, and she did absolutely nothing about it. She was like complaining about her ex, okay, and her ex best friend, like her ex partner, and then her ex best friend, okay. That's all I remember from this. She complained so much, and I don't mind that to a certain extent if you're trying to get over someone in a book. But then when it's drowning on, and then you have two people that I literally know nothing about, and then you're trying to make a decision about either one of them, one could ruin your job, and the other one could also ruin your job. I was like, you are just making bad decisions. And also, did you like either of these two men? Because it didn't seem like it. All right, next we have We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. Where do I even start with this book? I gave this 3 stars. Honestly, it should be like a 2.5. Like, to be completely honest with you, this book was boring. And not even that it was boring. And I probably could have let it go because I thought, like, the concept, it was a family drama. We follow the Brennan family. We have Sunday Brennan, who wakes up in a Los Angeles hospital, and she ends up having to go back home to, I believe, is it Massachusetts? The East Coast. That's all it says. East Coast. I believe it's Massachusetts. It's New England somewhere. And she is kind of like thrown back into her family drama. Her brother Denny owns a bar, I believe, with her ex, and I don't even remember his name, to be honest with you. Because that's how much I clearly didn't care. So yeah, with her ex-fiance. I don't even remember his name. And that's probably a good thing. First and foremost, the biggest problem I had with this book was that we were in way too many characters' perspectives. We were in the family, we were in the ex-fiance, we were in their partners' minds, and I was like, I don't need to be in everybody's point of view. What I needed was more Sunday and Denny's point of view because I thought they had the most insight and I thought they were the most crucial to the story, and that fell flat. I think for me, like, the idea of him owing like a mafia person money was fine. I just got a little, like, I would get lost. Like, there were times where I was reading this book and I was like, whose perspective am I in? Because they were not distinguished enough for me to be able to even tell them apart, if we're going to be honest. Okay, next we have The Sword Catcher by Cassandra Clare. I don't want to give too much of a review just because I did do a video with this, but I did rate this 4 stars. This follows Kel, who is an orphan and becomes the sword catcher for Prince Connor, who the sword catcher is, he takes Connor's place. So if things are dangerous, so he gets the cuts and bruises. And then we have Lynn, who is a healer in this world. I definitely liked it. I've already picked up the Rag Picker King, so I will be continuing along with the series. I, again, don't want to give too much away because I have a whole video coming out on this, but it was a very interesting look. I will say Connor got on my nerves at times. Luckily, we were never in the perspective of Connor, but I don't love third person POV, however, and I also didn't love that it didn't, when it switched between Kel and Lynn, it didn't like tell me whose perspective we were in. I just had to like kind of figure it out. And that's like not the most enjoyable reading experience for me. But overwhelmingly, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a story that could have used a little more adventure, but nonetheless, I think the politics of this family and the royal family were insane. But it worked, and the politics of this world were very interesting. So I'm looking forward to getting into the second one. All right, next we have The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Soto Yambo. Again, I don't want to go too much into detail here because this is for a video that you're going to be seeing next month when I'm on vacation. But I give this 3 stars. This follows, oh my gosh, what is her name? This follows Raya as she gets on this train she gets on the Elsewhere Express. And it's basically this dream fantastical world. There was an adventure in it, and I think if the adventure made more sense, probably could have given this book a higher rating. I don't read a ton of fantasy, but it definitely felt very nebulous. Like the whole time I was reading it, it didn't feel like there was anything concrete to ground it, and I was just like, what is going on? As I was reading it, I was like, wow, like, again, I have chronic illness, so like I was like, at times I was like, is this my brain fog or does this story not actually make sense? And I have heard from other people and watched other reviews and they felt the same way. So while this book is beautiful and I will be keeping it, the book itself, the actual content inside, not what I'm looking for. That's all I'm gonna kind of say on that because I don't want to give too much away. All right, I'm starting to see the floor here. The next is Hunt the Villain by Rena Kent. This was my favorite. Rena Kent. Julian and Bond have my heart, guys. They have my actual heart. I love them. This beautiful. This was my favorite Rena Kent video or book out of the. Well, I've only read the ones, but you know. Basically, you have two people from rival mafia syndicates, I guess, or like mafia groups. I don't know how that works. And they end up falling in love. So that's the basic plot of it. I think it's very cute. Honestly, if you're looking for a dark romance, this would be it. I am rather sad that the next one does not come out till next March. But with that being said, that's all I'm going to say about this because there's not much else to say other than they're from two mafia families and they fall in love. There's a lot of homophobia, though, unfortunately, in this. So you kind of have to deal with that. So once you get over that, great. But just know that going in. Next, we have Hamnet, which is one of my historical fictions. Again, I do not read a ton of historical fiction. So bear in mind that. I give it 3.5 stars. I have yet to see the film. I will be seeing that soon. But I read this half on audio and half read it. And I don't think if I didn't have it on audio, I would have never gotten through this book. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I struggled to get through it. Wow. I mean, I can see why it was Academy nominated, like Oscar nominated. Not that I've seen the actual film, but I can understand the content. Again, historical fiction really isn't my thing unless it's set in the 80s, which is historical, obviously. But I think when you get into this and like the Black Plague in the 1500s, you kind of lose me. Like, I've read my fair share of Shakespeare, so I don't, to be honest with you, I didn't want to read anymore. So that's just a me thing, guys. Total personal preference, which is why, like, I hate to like have my personal preference reflect in a rating, but guys, I didn't like it, and I'm not gonna like lie and say I did. So, all right, next we have Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. So this follows a hockey town, and something catastrophic happens in the first book, and it's kind of following the aftermath of that. I really like this. I rated this 4 stars. I haven't really rated any of the Beartown or this 5 stars. I definitely think Frederick Bachman is an acquired taste in terms of reading, and I think it's kind of hard to sometimes read him because if there's just so, I mean, he definitely makes it flow. Like in a chapter, there's like a few different people we're following, and he makes it work. But I will say at times, I just don't always have the brain capacity to do that. So it makes it a little bit of a harder reading, kind of like just a harder reading experience. But I will say this is a great series. I'm excited to read the winners. I just have not picked it up. I need to give myself some time between these books because they are so sad. So that's all I am going to say about this because I don't want to give anything away, obviously, because it is part of a series. All right, next we have Lost Lambs. I rated this a 4.5 star. I really like this. I thought it was definitely an interesting take on a family, like a complicated family situation where there's polyamory involved. Each of the kids is doing something wild. Wild. Wow. Each of them is doing something so different that it makes for a fun read, but also like a very complicated, messy, like, wow. And then you realize like how, even if your life is complicated, how much more crazy it could get when you read things like this. So, yeah. But we follow the Flynn family, and the parents decided to open their marriage. Each of the girls is getting to something crazy between like getting into an online relationship, becoming like conservative. You have the one who's like dating a bad boy. It's just wild. Like, this book is wild. So if you want it for a fun time, I would read it. All right, this is my second and final historical fiction. This is the book club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick. I feel like I have not been saying every single author, and I'm so sorry about this. I rated this 4.5 stars. This was my book club pick for the month. I really enjoyed this. I felt like it was such a conversation about what it was like to be a woman in the 60s, and how in that time period women were starting to push back against the patriarchy, and it read like that. And I really like that because I always love stories when we're pushing women and pushing forward in like getting rights for women. It was hard at times. I think in the beginning it was kind of slow for me. I would say not everybody had that experience in my book club, but for me it was a little bit slow at times. And yeah, but if you can find a character that you relate to their story and you root for them, you will keep reading. But I kind of felt like by the end I fell in love with all four of them, but in general, like, I loved them. Yeah, I loved the Bettys. They were all so good. All right, next is Murder Bimbo by Rebecca Novak. Kind of forgot I even read this. Not even gonna lie here. Literally forgot I read this. It is very thin. I rated this 1.5 star. I am finding I don't like books with letters in them, which is also why I have not read The Correspondent. But this, I could barely tell you what it's about. Basically, it's about a sex worker who kills a right-wing politician. So, like, on the surface, I was really excited to read this. Boy, oh boy, I hated this. I actually, yeah. I don't have much else to say because I was bored. I was confused at times. I didn't know what was going on at other times. Like, I guess that's the same thing as confused, but it, like, really, like, even if I kind of understood what was going on, like, not in a confused way, I was, like, just lost. I was just lost. And I would say that I read a lot of, like, genres that I love, and I read a lot of books. Like, I can comprehend books fine. I just did not comprehend this. Don't know why. I don't know if it's the letters or what, but no. All right, next is Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hochhauser. It's a Cinderella retelling. I rated it 3.5 stars. I'm not sure why I rated it so low, but I can kind of understand that because, like I said, it is a Cinderella retelling, but from the evil stepmom's perspective. And going in, I'm like, whoa, that's an interesting take. However, this book really is about feminism and also what a mother will do to protect her children. And that's all I'm going to say about it because I don't want to give anything away, but it is very good. And I think if you like retellings, I would highly recommend this. I'm not a huge retelling fan, and I think it's probably why I rated a 3.5, but it is very good. If you are looking for something that's very feminist, and very much about a mother's love, I would highly recommend this. All right, next we have The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. I rated this a 3.5 star. This felt like book inception. This follows Rainey March, who is a third generation book witch, and she goes into books and makes sure that they stay on track. She saves them from the burners, something like that. This is very political. It talks about banned books. It talks about, and it kind of makes references to those things, but it did feel like bookception, and I was like, where are we? But it also, the ending kind of set it up for another book, so I'm curious to see if they're going to do that in the future. Or if Meg Schaefer is going to do that in the future. All right, next we have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this. I rated this 4 stars. I actually like this better than Atmosphere, but I felt for Carrie the entire time. So we follow Carrie Soto is Back on her journey, or Carrie Soto. We follow Carrie Soto and her journey back to tennis, and there's love interest. It is very good. You also see why she's so cutthroat, and I enjoyed that, especially reading prior Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, prior books where Carrie Soto is mentioned. I loved it. I loved her being so cutthroat, and I loved that mindset. It was everything I needed in a book and more. And I'm not going to say any more because I just feel like I'd be rambling, but honestly, so good. All right, the last physical book I have, and then I have to go through books that I read from the library or read on my Kindle, so we still have some books, but the last physical book I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I rated this 5 stars. this is a book for a video, so I don't want to get too much into or go too much into detail. But this is about Addie LaRue. She makes a deal in the 1700s, and she ends up living a life. And we follow her throughout the years as nobody remembers her. Like no one can remember her face. No one can remember her name. She can't even say her name. And all of a sudden, in 2014, she goes into a bookstore, and this guy remembers her. And that's all I'm gonna say. But I did rate it 5 stars because I loved it. Like, it just feels like a 5 star. Like, it also made me cry, and books don't normally make me cry anymore. So this. Okay, so for the next section, we're gonna be doing all of the books that I read either on my Kindle or had checked out from the library. So one of them is His Wicked Alpha by Ainsley Ellis. This I rated 3 stars. This is like a Omegaverse romance. If you want to read it, I would. There is a one bed trope, so forced proximity, one bed trope. So if you were interested in that, highly recommend it. The next one is Dollface by Lindy Ryan. Sorry if I'm looking down, but they're on my phone. I rated that 3 stars. That was a journey, guys. That was a journey. Didn't really like it, to be honest with you. I was like, what is going on in this entire book? Like, I was so bored, and I didn't really feel like it was that scary. That's just me. We're gonna blow through some of these because these are gonna go fast. So the next one is Margo's Got Money Trouble by Rufie Thorpe. I read this obviously prior to the show coming out. I'm a little bit behind. I'm a couple episodes behind actually, but I rated this 4.5 stars. We follow Margo, who gets unexpectedly pregnant by her professor, and she is forced into doing OnlyFans to make money for her and her baby. Really cool. Really loved it. I don't know why I didn't rate it 5 stars. I just think I was being harsh at the time when I was reading it, but it is very good and I highly recommend the read. The next one is Fake Shot by C.E. Reese. It is the 5th and final book in the Late New series. Wow, I finished off 2 like sports romance series this month. I rated this 4 stars. This book made me cry. That third act breakup nearly took me out. Okay. They're roommates. They fall in love. What more can I say, guys? So then I read The Names by Florence Knapp. I rated this 4 stars. The ending really took it down, but we follow a woman who is struggling with domestic violence, and she has a newborn son, and she has to name her son, and she has 3 different storylines for 3 different names that she chooses. That ending took me out, though. Didn't like the ending. Then I have Mr. Van Doren. This is a book by Kriya Rattan. This I rated 3.25 stars. Loved other of her books better. This follows a father and a doctor who's tending to his son's boyfriend's injuries, forced proximity, convenience. It's very, read the trigger warnings, read the kink warnings, guys, because it does go there. Then I read Family Drama by Rebecca Fallon. I've heard nobody talk about this book. I've talked about it in a video, but no. I rated this 3 stars. I honestly... No. We follow a mom as she is a famous movie star or television star, and she has twins, and both those twins grow up, and we kind of watch how her fame impacted them. So in theory, it was really good, but in practice, not so much. So then we had Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is also for a video, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but I rate it 4 stars. Yeah, we follow Juniper or June as she watched her friend die, and she takes her novel and repurposes it as her own. So it's very unhinged. The character is very just like unlikable. So then I read a arc called In Your Court by Kit Haley. This is a tennis romance, gay tennis romance. This is very good. It's that rivals to lovers, but in a way of heated rivalry. So it's very much the media has pinned them as rivals, and so it's that way. One of them is from America, one of them is from Australia. It's very cute. I will say it's just too long. I don't think a romance novel needs to be 500 pages. That's just my opinion on it. But yeah, and I rated it 3.5 stars if I did not say. So next is Dirty Little Secret by Riley Hart. I've read Riley Hart before. This, just go in knowing, look at the kink warnings, look at the fact that it's a professor and student, which I don't always love and typically don't love. I rated this 3.75 because of that, but just go in, look at all your triggers, all of that. Then we have Trouble by Brittany Nicole. This is a why choose polyamorous story. There is a hockey coach, a fire chief, and she is a musician. It is MMF, so yes, both of the boys are bisexual. That's what sold it for me. I did, however, still rate this 3 stars. It's just romance novels do not typically rate above 4 stars at this point in my reading journey. But it's not because they're bad. It's just like I read those for like calmness rather than like, or like I guess like as a fluffy read rather than as like an intense read. So I read that between the tense reads that typically get 5 stars. And then the final book, and I hope I'm not missing any, it's the book I finished this morning, which is Charming Puckboys by Eden Finley and Saxton James. This broke me. This is the final and 10th book in the Puckboy series, and I'm so sad to see it go. Like I said, I finished 2 like hockey series this month, but I am so sad that this is gone now. I literally almost cried tearing up, but it was so good. It was someone that he loved in his childhood, and they come back, and he's a little like the hockey player like loves animals, and animals are always following him, and he calls him Snow White, and like calls him a like princess, and like I can't say more, guys. It's so cute. It's so cute. But I'm very sad to see all of them go, and saying goodbye to the queer collective as we know it. And yep, I guess I ended this on a very sad sad moment. But those are all the books I read in April. Sorry, this is a long one. I think it's like 40 minutes long or something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave in the comments what books you read this month, what was your favorite, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Bye!